So, they've been abducting me. The Black Ops military has been abducting me since I was a child, along with extraterrestrials that work with the government. So, I really hope no one comes. I'm at the clubhouse at my residence because, like, I live with roommates, and then I don't want. Okay, there's someone. I mean, I guess I could like I don't. Is everything okay, sir? Okay. Okay. All right. So, I mean, I guess I'll just keep talking. But anyway, so as of I mean, okay. Where was I going with this?
Also,
Um,
Candace, if you can't talk, just tell me and I'll talk. If somebody's right
okay.
beside you, because I know you're in a public
Okay.
place. We've had a hell of a time trying to get this produced tonight. I don't know if it's a
Um,
full moon or what, but let's do our best to get through it. And if you can't talk, just let me know and I'll talk because I'm alone.
okay. There's just like bizarre, like, why did he need a car? Okay, yeah, it doesn't matter. No, that's another thing. Like, there's all sorts of like I don't know. And people are on the fly, MK. Okay, I'll let you talk because there's more people coming in here. Go right ahead.
Okay. So I use the word MK Ultra all the time when I'm on Facebook, and it's in my book a million times. And it's actually like I've just learned the term in the last 10 years. And I'm just going to give a brief history. And I'm sure there's a lot of survivors of the secret space program, targeted individuals, and others that could, and super soldiers, and others that could add to it. I'm going to do it very briefly. I believe MK Ultra and MK is for mind control. It's the Germans, Nazis, way of spelling it. And it started, in ancient times, in Egyptian times. The most recent was the work at Tavistock. They did a lot of work on children, experimenting in mind shattering. And then the Nazis took over in a way. And a big part of the concentration camps and that I've learned from all the testimony was about mind shattering children for MK Ultra, all kinds of children. And it was a global strategy. It was a global between world leaders to create mind controlled slaves. So it was like this, there was an illusion of division. The English were against the Americans and the Germans were against the Nazis. It was like on the top level, there was a coalition that was involved in financing the Nazis. And we know that George Bush was financing the Nazis. And this also ties into the Roswell crash. You know that, right, Candace, in New Mexico, where they thought it was a UFO, but it was a German spacecraft. That the Germans were already going into space at that time in the 40s when there was a Roswell crash. And the American military found out that only children and ETs could operate. They brought the structure back to Montauk in New York, and they had the seat, and they discovered through horrific experiments with children, and you're right, they tested for DNA to see who had psychic abilities. Like, there's a girl I was just listening to today, Carol Stanhope, believes her lineage is Leif Erikson. It's all they want people who were pioneering or had psychic and telepathic and remote view, the children. So they learned that that spacecraft at Roswell had ET technology, and they wanted to figure it out. And they found out that only ETs or psychic children could run it. So they made a pact with the Germans, the Nazis, I should say. They could kidnap up to 50,000 children per year for some of their military scientific experience, including at Montauk, which was one of the most famous. And uh, but they were also mind splitting, mind shattering young girls for trafficking, for human trafficking, for sex trafficking to the military. That was another cut. And so they split our minds using torture, LSD, and everything you can imagine, waterboarding, satanic ritual abuse to mind shatters into different altars, and in each one of those altars could be programmed for either like a honeypot or an assassin, and an array of other military jobs that, including the kind of assassinations we see in Charlie Kirk, Princess Diana, John Lennon, and you name it. It was probably a child, an adult who as a child had been MK Ultra'd. Are you okay?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Do you
I'm okay.
remember where you were programmed or when they first took you?
I don't know when they first took me. I mean, I like remember bits and pieces of like, they do the thing where Project Monarch programming, they put one image in one eye and another image in another eye, one sound in one ear, another in the ear, and they make you go crazy to the point where you're like a vegetable. You're like a baby. But I didn't remember this actually until 2023. Yeah, around there. Because another one of my TI friends told me when he was young, he watched that 90s show, Real Monsters, and it had like a Greek symbol that looked like an eye. And when he saw it, he started screaming. He didn't know why he was screaming, but because his unconscious mind remembered going through the monarch torture. That's why he screamed. He's little. Anyway, no, he showed it to me, the symbol to me in 2023. He's like, what? Like, look at the symbol and like tell me if it triggers anything for you. And then that's when I got the memory flooding of going through monarch mind control. And then, they made male and female altars for me that they used for I've been used in Project Talent. They compartmentalized my brain, made personalities, and then male and female, and then they would upload my consciousness. This sounds really out there, but that's how they do. They, I guess they take you during REM sleep. They make a portal in your room. They take you, they extract your essence and they can upload it into a clone. Um, so I've been uploaded into multiple avatars with Project Talent. I had to kill different people. Earlier this year, one of my alters, she was speaking a language I couldn't understand, but I was like trying to ask the alter question. She said she was Serbian, and I could remember her torturing and killing somebody. And she could um I kept speaking to the altar and she could fight very well. Like I got her to move my body around and she could, do things in combat that I don't know how to do or I was never trained in, but my altars are trained in certain combat I know nothing about. Anyway, so so Project Talent, and then I was abducted for 220 and backs,
Hmm.
and they keep taking me to the Dulce base. And okay, so here's now that we're on this topic of you know, programming, alien love bite, whatever. Okay, so there, okay, so over a year ago. There was some guy that appeared as a suggested friend on Facebook. And initially, like, I don't know, like, it didn't register. I didn't really think about it. I didn't add him as a friend, but then he appeared a second time as a suggested friend. I saw we had like 80 something mutuals, and I got memory flooding of him from the projects from like my 20-year tour, which they made me breed with probably, I'm gonna say dozens, hundreds of men. Because, what are they doing on Mars? Like they're trying to escape Judgment Day here, right? But they're trying to go there. They ultimately can't escape Armageddon, Judgment Day, whatever it is. They're trying to set up shop there. So anyway, but I had the memory flooding of the insects and having to kill the insects and like um so oh, um oh wait, I got a call, but anyway, so I just hit send to voicemail, but um so I I got the memory. I remember like the sleeping quarters, like like at the they would make us go through combat and slave labor and torture during the day, and then at the end, like their sex was the reward, and then we would be paired with whoever we'd have produce more slaves because of our genetics, and then they wanted the baby to have those certain genetics. And I remember those like really large spiders.
On
But
Mars?
anyway, okay, huh?
On Mars?
Yes. So anyway, okay, so back to this character. So I got the memory flooding, I got the recall of my daughter, and I noticed a lot of the children that I had out there, the prefix of their name is Mar. So Martin, Marielle, Marcel, on and on and on. I remember multiple children, and yeah. So anyway, so I told this person like over a year ago now that they were with me in the projects and we have a kid, and he doesn't believe it. He believes he's a targeted individual. He does not believe that he was, or he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to think about it. Anyway, whatever. But so at that time, that was May of last year, he said, I think they wanted us to meet. And then I'm like, yeah, you know what? That adds up. I think they wanted us to meet. So what did they do at that point? So that, they know everything about me. They know everything about all the targets. They can, evaluate you. They know how to weaken you your entire life. So they know your childhood core wounds, and they have astral psychic technology that like, and then, so they had me meet this person online that is a Sagittarius, like my father is an addict, and my father committed suicide when I was 11 years old, right? And kind of looks similar to my father, not identical, but some kind of similar. So didn't get to save my dad. Now I end up getting with my lab's targets that are addicts, and I want to save them because I couldn't save my dad and the perps, handlers, whatever, the controllers that are orchestrating all these events. They know, how to weaken me. And part of their MO is having me talk to these other my labs so we can destroy each other's lives because, for over a year now, like, I mean, me and this person have been like doing an on and off, on and off, on and off. Like, we've been driving each other nuts, and that's the point. So we destroy each other's
They can
lives. Huh?
also like inject like hormones, sexual hormones, or when they want you to be with someone. They can change your body chemistry. They can inject thoughts. They can inject music when they want you to go towards this abusive person. So it's like a drug. And if you're a my lab, a military abductee, targeted individual, all those things, how do you know what real love is if you've had a false love your whole life? Can
Right.
any of us actually identify, do you think, real love? Or we're always being funneled into people that will destroy us while it feels like they're going to save us, because they do inject us with a high as we're going towards the demons. Do you
Yeah.
think so?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like being injected with the drug that you need and want. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've tried. No, this isn't the only person this happened with. There was another target I was on and off with for a year and a half until it finally, you know. Also, in the projects with that guy, we also had children on the 20. And I just happened to meet that person online as well. And oh, so it's very, there really is something about sectors and the quantum mechanics for me to keep meeting these
Yeah.
people, whether online or in person, over and over. Like when I lived in Gainesville, like I lived in Gainesville for like 2.5 years, but I recognized some of the other, other people from the projects. And then, I remember one, like this was about a year ago, a little over a year ago. Met him in the laundromat. And then within 20 minutes of talking, because I just can't help myself, right? Like I said to him, "You're a military abductee." And then he said, "Oh, I have the chills." And then he's like, my grandfather's a 33rd degree Freemason, and my fifth great grandfather was a Supreme Court judge in Massachusetts. I'm like, see, I knew there was something about you for me to tell you this. And then eventually I got memory flooding of that guy. And then we dated a short time, which of course it didn't work out because none of us are really ready to date, to be fair. I mean, very few of us are actually ready for intimacy because we're all so traumatized from these programs. So it's like, anyway, but
There's of all the targeted in SSP, the only one I see that's in a relationship that seems to be good is Penny Bradley. She's
Penny,
my age. I mean, all of everybody's traumatized. We've all been abused on so many levels. It's like, uh, is you're young, like so. It's more of an issue, for you younger people, I would think, for your future. Do you see a future where you're going to be able to connect? Do you know what real love is? Would you know it if you saw it?
because I've never had a healthy relationship
No,
in
me
my
either.
entire life. No, but then I have to accept I can't partake in a healthy relationship until I heal from the trauma of civilian life, the trauma of the projects. It could take months, a year.
Mhm.
But if that's gonna be, I'm gonna try to not anticipate anything. And even recently, like there was, oh gosh, like another no these people, they just appear as suggested friends, or I meet them out in public or what. Okay, and okay, it is what it is. Another one I met in Gainesville also said the same thing. Oh, you're a military abductee. He looked at me like I was nuts, but he said, I'm related to dictators on both sides of my family. I also had memory flooding of that guy. And I will tell you, there is a reason the opening scene of The Devil's Advocate took place in Gainesville, Florida. And that's where they MK'd me into moving in 2022. And it all went downhill I mean, it was already going downhill, but I went through such bullshit when I was in
So
that. Huh?
when you were first abducted, do you think they were taking your whole body at first, and then they started to take pieces of your consciousness and put them into clones? And why did they pick you? What is your DNA, or is it some skill or combination?
Um, I don't know if they would ever take this body. I don't know if they would take the whole body or just my consciousness and upload it into clones in other places. I don't know. But every time I'm abducted, I get three puncture markings on my skin or multiples of three every single time. I don't always remember being abducted immediately. Why did they select me? Um, well, I don't know if you want to call it meta abilities. I have more than two strands of DNA. I have serif DNA. I'm part of the 144,000 that's here for the paradigm shift. That's why they
Yeah,
chose me.
yeah.
So, And I mean, that's, subjective, that's actually a real thing. I know that's, and they have looking glass technology. They can see past, present, and future. They know who's going to be a problem for them in the future. Some that are part of the 144, they're kind of left alone. I mean, because they're
Yeah.
conformists. I'm not a conformist. So anyway,
Yeah, they
yeah,
know our military has, and many countries have the ability to read read your DNA as you're coming in and deciding what you've done in past lives and what kind of trouble you could cause for them or how they could use your life. And that's how they choose a lot of the Mind Lab abductees. And that was part of the gifted and talented. They weren't trying to, give these kids a better life. They were testing IQ, they were testing ESP, and that's one of the ways they selected. I think, the blood testing in hospitals, vitamin K, what the hell is that? Why is babies supposedly don't have it? I mean, it's just a way to get a piece of our blood when we're born. And I'm sure that all goes to the government, to the military. And so they have many ways of deciding who they're going to my lab. I mean, there are probably some targeted individuals that are just another body for the military, because the more bodies they have, the more money they get for special operations. But a lot of targeted individuals are SSP, and we're in the aftercare. They're trying to keep us so traumatized that we never remember what they did. And that's part of this MK Ultra mind control, keep funneling us to abusive men in our cases, so that
yeah,
we don't remember all of the trauma. Like, I'm getting it back. I think my father and signed me over to Raytheon, which is a German owned company who was working in collusion with the Navy in Massachusetts, and he was also involved in MIT and Harvard. So it was way back in the 60s when all of these programs were, just getting going in Harvard and MIT, and they were starting to work with the Nazis. And I actually, my father was not an evil man, but I think he believed that it was just going to be certain type of testing. Oh, she's really smart, or she's really psychic, and he believed that. But I did do remote view and see him signing documents with Raytheon Corporation, and I know they physically took me to underground facilities for MK Ultra mind control. They physically took me. And then I think they might have done a 20 and back, and they kept taking my consciousness, because I cannot remember most of my childhood. I can't really start to remember things till I'm 13. So I think they stopped using or stopped taking my no, because there's times after that people would say, "Do you remember that? Do you remember that? Do you remember that?" And I'm like, "No, I have no clue. I have no clue." So I think they've been taking my consciousness. But I was taken physically, I'm sure. I mean, there was Carol Stanhope talked about, like, the early when they had electrodes in the 50s and 60s, and said she had a dent on the top of her head where she put a teaspoon of water. And I have one of those. It's like, and so I wonder if I really had, the electrodes back then that they started out with. And I don't know if it was it was one of the very early Operation Paperclip projects when they were just started MK Ultra. But I'm definitely in the aftercare now, and I just wonder, because in a way, and it sounds sort of strange, we're the ones that should be having children in a way, because we have a lot of these, I did have children, and they all got, well, each one had different things happen to them through MK Ultra and Nazism. But it's also part of depopulation, because and they want to dumb down humanity now. They want slaves and cyber slaves. So if you can't also find a man, and have a family and have children, like the sort of the cream of the crop is not reproducing. The people with the
Yeah,
superpowers and the super intelligence, like a lot of the SSP people, they're not having children.
yeah. Yeah, but I don't think I don't ever want children. I mean, like just knowing I'm targeted and I'm here for the
Yeah.
shift. Like I don't ever. And okay, so this is you mentioning Operation Paperclip. So what, okay, this is like a little like sidetracking, but um so also when I was in Gainesville, I encountered another guy that I was in the projects with, and I didn't like initially like I was just talking to him for a short time and then it registered like I got the memory flooding and then I was like, like I ended up like telling him, you were on a 20 and like he said he was following David Wilcock. It's like, yeah, big surprise because anyone that gets into the content went through this themselves. They don't always know why they're getting into the content. But then, I said to him, like, I was in the projects with you. And he said, my mother was a nurse for somebody who I don't remember who it was, but his mother was a nurse for somebody that partook in Operation Paperclip. And then it's like his mother probably had meta genes as well. Um, and then, I ended up adding this person on Instagram. He also said he's working at the Holiday Inn in Gainesville. I mean, but he told me, there was a version of him that came into the hotel. It looked like an older version of him. And he spoke to him and he said, you look like you're doing very well. And this older version of him, like, was escorted out like Truman Show style. And then that's real crazy. But anyway, of course, like weird shit like this all these really bizarre things happen to us as military abductees, even in civilian life and out there both. But anyway, so I added this guy on Instagram. And then I looked at a photo of him, his wife, and his kids. I was like, bro, like all of you are being abducted by the military. And he said, my wife's mother said she saw the grays in the living room. I'm like, yeah, your wife's mother probably has the genetics too. And then oh, you froze, Jane.
You froze too. Oh, there you are.
Oh, that's weird. Um, could you hear me the whole time though?
Yeah, I could hear you though.
Oh, okay. So anyway, no, but the thing is, they can force incarnate you into certain families. They could
Yeah.
also have you meet certain people. So this guy that I met in Gainesville, him meeting his wife was probably orchestrated so he could reproduce kids with the meta genes so they could be used in the projects too,
Yeah.
right? And then, yeah, this truth is stranger than fiction. Oh my Lord. So yeah.
Yeah, one of the woman I interviewed for my book, Royal Blood, Royal Blackmail, was a bloodline daughter of Queen Elizabeth. And they use their own. People think the elite children have it made. I mean, they use them in the most horrific ways. Some of them, they all have different roles, but she had like she was in the Monarch program and she was sex trafficked. She said to all of the presidents from Carter to the present one. And she had like Barbie programming, Black Widow programming, I Dream of Jeannie programming. And so each one she was shattered into like over 1,000 altars through satanic ritual and for her, like the president, she would be taken in a state of frozen to the president as a child from Carter up, and they would have the keywords, to unleash if they wanted a certain Barbie doll, if they wanted a certain block, yeah, if they wanted an I Dream of Jeannie, they all had the codes to release the programming. That was the other thing that I wanted to cover a little bit is if we have programming for leftover from sex trafficking, or there are some of us that are assassins, honeypot, like there's keywords still out there, like how, in code words, and they're using them a lot in television shows. And like, how do you know, like when you meet one of the men that's not for you, you haven't been given a code word like somewhere to. And I know if people don't know what we're talking about, this seems really fantastical, but I'm assuming people who watch might be aware. Like, I think there's still code words out there unless you have integrated all your alters, which most people have not. Did you have code words? Your handlers probably had code words for your alters.
Probably. I don't remember it all though. Like I don't remember everything. I don't remember um trying to think like
I mean, I'm just getting back my memories too of SSP.
yeah. So I remember them like very patronizing though. Like I don't necessarily remember code words, but like how, they were patronizing and then of course like, it was like yes sir, no sir, like very like they made me very robotic. I know that. But like um yeah. So
Um,
there's
I also was on this subject recently because, well, in my book, I talk about Yoko Ono and John Lennon and how I believe she was a honeypot from the get-go. She was from an aristocratic bloodline. She had early suicidal tendencies, which tend to be brought about if you're in MK Ultra. Her whole relationship with John Lennon was based on sort of deceit and manipulation. And if you're a honeypot, you're actually designed to entice, like they'll give you an assignment. I feel like Erica Kurt was assigned to Charlie Kirk, and that Yoko was assigned to John, and she knew every single detail of his weaknesses, his strengths, his history. And so they'll actually create an alter that he would never, like, they know each other's types, to like the CIA know, know John Lennon's type, they know Charlie Kirk's type. And like just recently, I've been, her whole demeanor, like the funeral, it was all big theater. And I looked in her history, and she owned a ministry at 17 in Romania that was linked to the American military that was shut down because of child trafficking. But people, until we wake up, these systems are may not fall. Like they're still believe, like they look at her and they, a lot of people are thinking she's just like this incredible wife. I mean, and Yoko Ono too. And Yoko Ono, they both sort of brought these men to their demise. I mean, 2 weeks after, do you know who I'm talking about? Charlie Kirk, that guy, the man that was
yeah.
assassinated. Yeah, she
Yeah,
was just doing interviews and glowing, every hair in place, make, just perfect. And that is definitely a sign of MK Ultra. You can switch personalities very quickly, but I guess the whole thing about that, this is just trying to point out that so much of what people see on the TV and news, and they're MK Ultra victims, and the assassins are generally MKO. The whole system is being operated by, CIA controlled MK Ultra slaves, both the assassins and the honeypots. I definitely believe that Erica Kirk is a honeypot that kind of brought him to his demise. Um, but yeah, I know that both of us are like out of it today.
yeah.
And
Do you
we were gonna sort of wind it up and early. I don't know if you want to say anything about, did you follow the Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk scenario? I know most of
They're
us look
both
at it going,
reptilians.
hmm?
They're both reptilians. The whole thing was orchestrated, you know? Like it's a
Yeah.
fear. And then, and then I don't know if you'll buy this, but Yoko Ono is an incarnation of Lilith, and this sounds really out there, but John Lennon is an incarnation of Lucifer. And Lilith and Lucifer have many incarnations here because they're running the AI Ouroboros. They have thousands of incarnations here, and they're creating a theater.
How do you know that?
Like,
Did you see them in the program? Did you see both of them in the program?
no, but I mean, like, I could get a read off pictures and everything. Like, and
Okay,
I
so you're
asked him,
reading them. You're doing like
yes,
remote viewing, and you see her. Well, she definitely falls into Lilith. She was a very evil person. Well, Lilith, I mean, the Lilith, the interpretation by the Bible was evil. I don't think the real Lilith was, but the interpretation was. But you think John Lennon is an incarnation of Lucifer?
yes,
Really?
definitely, yes, I do. No, but a lot of the big name celebrities are incarnations of Lilith and Lucifer. A lot of the politicians, anyway, it's a whole nother topic. But where was I going with this? So, I
Well,
mean,
I was saying
yeah.
she was a honeypot put in his life to disempower him and get him away from his support structure, his wife, his child. He like abandoned everybody in England, went to New York City, got on drugs, heroin, and they became sort of these weirdo sex freaks. And I don't know if he put out any good material after that part. And then, he was in the right place at the right time to be assassinated. Now, I'm not sure if he was Lucifer, why they would assassinate him. I would assume they assassinated him because he was going to cause trouble for the,
It's all a part of the theater. I mean, um, like one country fighting another country, that's part of the
yeah,
theater too, because the elites fund both sides of a war. I mean, Russia and China are best friends. They've been best friends, but there's like this illusion of rivalry, right? And then no, it's all a part of the theater for there
everything's
to,
theater.
but
What do
I
you
mean
think the
for
point was to Charlie Kirk's death to try just to traumatize the right and to pit us against each other?
yeah, yeah, distraction, distraction, distract. And then like they want right versus left and the whole BLM thing too. Like that's run by George Soros. That's also another
Yeah.
they're just it's all distractions.
And what
So,
about why would they assassinate John Lennon more a sacrifice to, well, if he's Lucifer, he can't be a sacrifice to Lucifer, but to traumatize the public?
um, well, I mean, if you like, okay, I will say, like, let's say you look at John Lennon or listen to his music. If you look at any of these incarnations or listen to their music, you're giving them your energy.
Yeah.
And of course, Lucifer's not gonna come at you like evil, like, he's gonna come off like the
It's gonna
nicest person.
seduce you.
So, yeah, but I mean, like, the whole thing, um, if you're yeah, he tries to take your energy any way he can. He's inorganic. Lilith, I would say she's inorganic. In a parallel timeline, she's organic. This one she's not. I mean, this is my 2 cents, but like, um, so yeah, just anything. Like, was he really assassinated though? I mean, I don't know. I mean, some people think JFK wasn't really assassinated either. Um, some people think that that was also part of the theater to get us to think there are heroes, there are leaders. We should be
Mm.
voting. Any kind of voting, in my opinion, is to keep us trapped in the Ouroboros
Yeah.
AI death system.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's all a trap to keep us distracted and to It's like we're kindergartners looking up at a big screen and thinking that's the real world, and they, whatever they want us to think, they put it on the screen. And, you know, a really big, I've never seen Americans so pitted against each other. And that's the whole point, to keep us off the eight ball of what's really going on, which is ushering in, artificial intelligence. I don't think they're going to succeed this time around. I think we are going to succeed. I think the light is going to win this time. Because so many
Yeah.
people are waking up. It's my feed is like I see all these people talking about things that used to be so radical. They're becoming like what we're talking about. I see a lot, in my news feed, and you know, things that would just be unheard of even 10 years ago. So I don't know. Do you have any? I just wanted to end up, with I know you have some healing techniques or protection techniques. You're being targeted too, right? Do you have some things you want to share?
Yes. So one, asking in spirit exactly what you're dealing with. So I will ask this person, are they human, non-human? Do they have prime DNA, non-prime DNA? And then you have to even ask, like, let's say they are human and they come off very, benevolent. I have to ask in spirit, what are their intentions? Because I mean, no, there's perps set up all the time. It's not always somebody just being remote influenced. So you have to ask, and I would say the organic spirit, there's a counterfeit to everything. So there's the AI spirit, there's the organic. Um, so anyway, ask in spirit exactly what you're dealing with. If you feel like you're being hit with like psychic attack, whether ethereal, electronic, whatever, you can visualize like cords around you being cut and then your light emanating and pushing out the attacks, pushing out the attachments, and then yeah, I like to say a mantra, what's theirs is theirs, what's mine is mine. And I like put up a shield like a dome. So it's like a mirror. So your enemy sees themselves. It works. And then if I also had that ethereal electronic, I don't know, like rape sensation. So I would visualize like any physical or ethereal implants like being disabled, like, and then I also like would say a mantra like anything inorganic like has to leave my energy field. I different mantras like I disconnect from any and all forces of darkness. And yeah, so that's a lot of the targets I'll explain this to them and they think no, I just have to pray to Jesus. And it's like I've said to one of, if someone tried to punch you in the face, would you pray to Jesus or would you physically try to defend yourself? It's the same with a psychic attack. Do you
Yeah.
pray to Jesus? Do you try to psychically defend yourself? Like, so,
Yeah, I've been trying to a new technique with MK Ultra because basically MK Ultra wants you to do the opposite of anything positive. So if I say anything like I'm getting up at I'm going to write, pray, run, like just like something simple like that, my mind might even flash a satanic ritual, like anything positive. My mind, or I want to do, or something like a positive affirmation, my mind will flip to something grotesque or satanic. So I've learned to what I'm doing is that's their thing, is the opposite. And they started that in the Nazi concentration camps. They would freeze soldiers, almost freeze them, and then they would, make them extremely hot. Then they would starve them, and then they would force feed them. So that the opposites of MK Ultra, they learned you could split a mind. But they're still trying to, make me manifest a reality that's terrible, because if I think something positive, my brain, or they're going to put in something really negative. So I can add a third element, which is a Reiki symbol, which dissolves it, and then an image like of a power animal, or a beautiful tree or a rainbow. So I'm making it 3 steps instead of there 2, so that my brain is starting to heal from flipping to a satanic or something grotesque or something. It's learning that I'm going to take it a step further and add a third symbol, which would be something that's loving, protect. Even like you go everywhere, if you're a target individual, you're going to hear drilling or, siren. I can even do it with that, so that I'm actually disabling their MK Ultra, or their some of their gang stalking. Like, they, everywhere I go, or a targeted individual goes, there is noise. Just for example, like sawing or drilling, and then I do put the Reiki symbol, say hey key on it, and then I'll superimpose that. So it's like I'm hearing it, but now my brain is flipping to a positive. So whatever they do negative, it's like positive, negative, positive. I'm working on like a system. And also I find saying I am that I am that I am is really powerful. They hate that. Your controllers hate that. And yeah, cutting ties, you can physically imagine. And or shamanically, like, once a perpetrator has a thought of you, they've created a tie to you. You can actually shamanically follow that cord to find out who they are. And I've done that a lot. Like, I know who they are. And you know, and depending upon how angry I am, you can, I'm not going to say it, but you can track your perpetrator, whether it's a guy that is, I don't know if you get stalked with cars and chase, like, you can find out who that is so they've got an anger at you, or they've got an intention to hurt you. They've connected a cord to you. So you can shamanically ask your power animal to follow that cord, show me the origin, and they'll bring you to that person or that institution. And you can go there with an army from the spirit world, like an army of power animals. I have giants, I have, Aboriginal warriors, like all from past lives. You can call upon them all to go with you to do what you want to do, and to that perpetrator on the spirit level. And I was going to start like a Zoom group to teach targeted individuals how to do that shamanically, because literally you have a world of unseen forces that will align with you if you have good intentions. If you are good spirit, a good heart, you have good intentions, there's a world of power out there for us, on while we're on planet Earth, from the mythological, the Sasquatch, past lives, tree spirits, animal spirits, mountain spirits. They will align with you to go with you to do what you want to these people. And it's self-defense. I don't believe I'm going to create karma. You have a right to defend your life. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I may start a Zoom group. And because the more we join together, like if 5 of us are doing, like, say, one of the targeted individuals had to, attack from, I don't know, someone below them was, open up their microwave, whatever. If all 5 of us to get together, we're all calling our power, we all go after, that individual or that group, then it's even more powerful. So there's a lot of shamanic techniques that can really help people get free. We just ignore them, or you were never taught, or you just feel like everything out there is against you, and they're not. If you're good heart and good intention, you can get a lot of alignment with the good spirits of the earth. So it's 6:30, Candace.
Alrighty.
Do you want to say anything else? So did you have a comment on what I just said or a feeling about it?
Um, no, that makes sense to me. Another thing is I have to be aware to heal. I mean, there's so many things I have to do to rewire my physiology because just me being at a circuit at a certain frequency is also opening me up, like me being anxious and depressed and PTSD'd out. So there's all these different things. I mean, there's like very basic 3D like biofeedback, EMDR, yoga,
Yeah,
Tai Chi, like that I don't do that I need to push myself to do. And
yeah.
then I'll be less open if I do like the 3D work,
Yeah,
the
watch
spiritual
your
and the 3D
thoughts
work,
too.
like,
Like if you're
yeah,
gonna say, if you say, I'm gonna do yoga, watch what happens to your brain. Like what thoughts come up. See if you're getting that MK Ultra, like they'll show you something terrifying or something satanic. And because I think a lot of us, we're just like in this, like we want to do this stuff, but our brains are still saying, if you do that, there's going to be a terrible response, or like just watch it and see if you can overlay it. Like it's almost like EMDR. We don't do the tapping, but we're overlaying it with positive images, like whatever you perceive as positive, like a beautiful wave or a beautiful river or a power, something to overlay the satanic images or whatever images they're giving you to doubt yourself or make you not do what is good for you. It's very complicated, but not complicated at the same time. It's not complicated if you understand the MK Ultra. But we can train our brain that, okay, we're not done yet. This is a third step, and the third step is good. Anyway, I might start a group to help people do that as I work it through myself. Even if I want to
mhm,
write, something comes into my head, like something horrible. And so I'm like, oh,
yeah,
writing is associated with animals being tortured or something like, and so you just go, like you go into a zombie state almost. Like I don't go like that, but I'm like, you just sit there and drink your tea or whatever, and you're like, unless you're really paying attention, it could control you, like stop your good
yeah,
behavior for yourself.
yeah. It's a big problem. I have to overcome like the influence and my own self-sabotage. Oh, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
process.
they
Yeah,
love
but let
that.
me know about yeah, yeah. Let me know if you do the group though. I'd be interested.
All right, I've got a couple other people that are interested. It's hard with targeted individuals. Like if you put it out there, they're going to say no, 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 no. But plus, like the organizations like Targeted Justice, and they don't like targeted individuals that talk like woo woo. Like it's almost, they call it woo woo because they're not acknowledging this is happening on the spiritual level too. They just want you to be a scientist or a doctor that's a target so you can like legitimize it. So um it's hard for me as a spiritual person and a targeted individual to share my gifts because they're either going to they're either going to say it's only Christ or it's too woo woo. Like I'm sort of in this midway place where I feel like I could really help people, but they're like, well, why aren't you asking Christ? It's all, they get this obsession, even though he said you do as I do. Probably did all this, stuff like aligning with the powers of the wind and the mountains and the sky, but no, like, so yeah, if I could just get a few people, it'd be great, to start talking about it. All
Yeah.
right. Wow, this has been a
Mm.
rough to get this going. And I was like, it was a weird night. It's full moon, harvest moon, but anyway, thank you for showing up.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Okay. And I'll let you know if I do that Zoom group.
Alrighty.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Are you?